Hey Gators and sports fans, get all your Gator talk, news, analysis, and opinions on the PodUp with Matthews in the Morning podcast. Find us on your favorite podcast platform or watch us on Facebook Live between 8 a.m. and 9 a.m. every weekday. PodUp, because we are Gator fans. So say it's great to be a Florida Gator.
Good morning and welcome to a Tuesday edition of PodUp with Matthews in the Morning from the Crime Prevention Security System Studios. Large enough to serve you, small enough to care. Got a good show lined up for you today. It's Tuesday, so that means Buddy Martin will be talking Gator sports here momentarily. But first, we're going to go to the Titan MR hotline, and we're joined one of my former teammates with the Chicago Bears and the Carolina Panthers, old offensive lineman Blake Brockermeyer. Good morning, Blake. How are you?
Great, man. How are you doing?
Doing good. The reason we got you on, Blake, obviously you're a former teammate of mine, but you have, we'll talk about this in a minute, but you have two of the top ranked offensive linemen. They're your twin boys. They're committed to Alabama, unfortunately, for the Gator Nation. But we'll talk a little bit more about them in a minute. But all the former athletes I have on, we talk about your career a little bit. You grew up in the Fort Worth area, long history of your family lines playing at the University of Texas. Was it a no-brainer for you to go to Texas, or what other schools did you look at?
No, initially I wanted to go out of state. I took Florida State. Ironically, was one of my top choices coming out. They were one of the better teams in the country in the early '90s, and I went and visited there. I went to Washington, who won a national championship pretty soon after I got to Texas. Colorado had just won a national championship. Tennessee. I took some unofficial visits, did some stuff. So, I kind of looked around, and the more I looked around, the more I wanted to stay in state. I felt a lot of pressure to stay in state, honestly, and that was pre-internet, so you can imagine what it's like now. But it was a great decision for me. I'm glad I went there. We didn't do very well as a team, which wasn't much fun, but I had a great experience, and I'm glad I went to UT.
I'm trying to remember, who was the head coach at Texas when you played?
For my first year, it was David McWilliams, and then he got fired, and then John Makovic was the coach. Yeah, so he was a different type of Texas coach, but he did have a really good offensive mind, and he helped me a lot learn how to pass protect. Because in high school, I was a pretty good run blocker, but no one had ever taught me how to pass protect, and we didn't ever throw the ball. So I had a big learning curve in college on how to pass protect, and we threw the ball more than most colleges did. Not Florida back then, but for a lot of schools, and so it was good for my career.
I'm trying to remember. I could have sworn you told me a hilarious story about Makovic when we were with the Panthers, the Bears. I can't remember what it was about, but maybe you'll think of it later. But so you said y'all didn't win a whole lot at Texas, but let everybody know. I was fortunate enough to go. You invited me and Luke several years ago to go to the OU Texas game. Yeah. The only other game that's similar to that is Florida Georgia, which I've been a part of a long time. Talk a little bit about what that game means to OU players and to Texas players.
Well, that's a huge game. I mean, obviously it's a big rivalry game. It's just a unique experience, a unique venue in the State Fair of Texas, and the stadium split right down the middle, right on the 50-yard lines. Even the tunnel, I think we sat in the Texas end zone. So the Texas end zone, they come out of the tunnel where the Oklahoma fans are. And so the Texas, so there's no seats, obviously, in that tunnel. So they put a little strip of Oklahoma fans in the Texas end zone, to offset it, which has to be the worst place to sit if you're an Oklahoma fan. But they've kind of had our number the last, 10 years or probably longer. But but when I was in college, we actually did pretty well against them. They weren't very good back then. Thank God Coach Stoops hadn't arrived yet.
Talk a little bit about Bevo. Okay, so tell me this. Is Bevo on campus? Can you go like take pictures with Bevo on campus?
No. So Bevo is run by a group of, I don't even know what, I should know this because my son's actually in it, but they're called the Silver Spurs. And so the Silver Spurs are Bevo's handlers, basically. And so he lives out on a ranch somewhere. I honestly don't know where. And so it's kind of like I don't know, kind of a fraternity kind of deal that you get invited to get in it. And they've got a bunch of athletes and golfers and swimmers. And I mean, tons of different people. I don't know the exact makeup, but so they run Bevo and then I guess they put them in a trailer and drive them around to the games and all that stuff. So, that's kind of Bevo's deal, but he's only there for, he goes to most of the games, home and away. Obviously this year probably won't go to any of the away games, but, so Bevo's pretty cool deal, pretty cool mascot.
I'll say, no doubt about it. We got a Facebook Live question here for you, brought to you by Meldon Law, where you matter most. Evan wants to know, Blake, are you bothered by there's no longer a Texas A&M game? Oh
yeah, that's honestly that's kind of that kind of helped Alabama because we love playing the Aggies and them being in the SEC West, they get to play A&M every year. So that's a unique environment and a great place to play and a tough environment to play in. But I still have no idea why, they won't play Texas. Texas has been so bad for the last 10 years or so. You would think that they would have been wanting to play them, but Texas is starting to kind of get a little bit better, it looks like, and probably be a really good game. I wish they played every year, but it doesn't look like they're going to.
At Chris Doring Mortgage, they do mortgage lending right, helping home buyers throughout Gainesville and North Central Florida. Call Chris Doring Mortgage today at 352-244-0840. We're speaking with Blake Brockermeyer, former All-American from the University of Texas. We'll talk about your other boys, but you have one son who's playing for the Texas Longhorns right now. Your thoughts on what Tom Herman has done with the program? Do you think he's the right guy there?
Yeah, I think Coach Herman's, obviously inherited a tough situation. They had some questionable hires before that and didn't recruit very well. And so he came in and, 2 years ago, they looked like they were really starting to turn it around quicker than people thought. And they've done a great job and Sam's turned into a really good quarterback. Last year, they were a little bit, disappointing. I think most people had high expectations for how Texas was going to do, but they had a lot of injuries and, just all the different stuff that happens to every program. But, they definitely are headed in the right direction, I think. And, they've got some good young players on campus, and they've got a good quarterback coming through right now that I think is the future quarterback of their program, and Hudson Card from Lake Travis and Austin. People are already trying to put him on the bench with a kid that's still a junior in high school, but this kid will be a 4-year starter at Texas, I bet. And I think he's going to be a good quarterback for him.
Blake, talk about your son, Luke, who plays at Texas. Went there, is it like a preferred walk-on, had opportunities to go play elsewhere, but probably wanted to follow in dad's steps, granddad's steps, all that kind of stuff. They put him on scholarship. Did they do one of those special types, little ceremonies to kind of trick the guys, and then boom, he gets a scholarship and the team goes crazy? You know the ones I'm talking about?
Yeah.
Stuff. Did they do that for him?
Yeah, they did Coach Herman had called my wife and I that earlier that I can't remember if it was morning or afternoon, and told us that he was going to give Luke a scholarship, which we were really shocked by because it was so late. Like a lot of times they'll give kids scholarships at the end of camp, like they'll do it, the last week of camp or whatever, they'll have scholarships available. And usually it's for a senior, that was a walk-on that, they've got scholarships to give. But Luke's got a couple of years left. So they basically, they did a deal where it was like how to tie a tie. And I don't know who thought of it or what it was, but Luke knows how to tie a tie. Maybe that was why they did it. I don't know, but so they did some sort of contest on tying a tie, and they tied that into it. But it was exciting, and we were thrilled to death for Luke to earn a scholarship at Texas, and he loves it down there, and is really happy with everything.
So after your career at Texas, you were a first-round draft pick by the Carolina Panthers. You play there for several years. Then you go to the Chicago Bears, where we were both together in Carolina and Chicago, and then you ended your career out in Denver. Talk a little bit about what it was like to be playing probably one of the most difficult positions in the NFL, left tackle. Some of the guys that gave you fits and gave you nightmares when you were getting ready to prepare to play them. Who were some of those guys?
Well, the best guy, hands down, that I played against was Dwight Freeney. I mean, that guy was unblockable. I mean, he was like, he's the top, and on my list, he's definitely the top. But there's so many great pass rushers. Chris Dolman always gave me a lot of issues. He seemed to follow me around everywhere I went, and every conference. He was a great player. A lot of veteran players that that were that are older. Like I always tell people, pass rushers or D linemen are kind of like fine wines. Like they always get better with time, because I don't know what it is about like Jason Taylor. Like I remember playing against Jason Taylor early in my career, and I'm like, golly, I don't see what the deal is with this guy. Like he's not very big. He doesn't have this. He doesn't have that. And then you look at him 2 or 3 years later, and he's like unblockable. So it's just, these guys always get better with time. But, Vonnie Holliday's a guy that's not a big name guy. He gave me fits. I mean, that guy, everyone's kind of got their kryptonite. And so you might be a high profile guy or not, but like there are so many good players. I mean, every week you're going to get somebody good. Simeon Rice was another really tough player that I had to go against a bunch. And I mean, the list goes on and on and on. I'm sure I'm forgetting 100 people.
Well, my first career start in the NFL, we opened the season against the Chiefs. And I remember Derek Thomas was going to be matched up against you the entire game. Yeah,
Derek Thomas kind of fit into my strengths. He wasn't a big power rusher, so I hated guys that could go speed to power. If you were just a speed guy, like that fit right into my wheelhouse. But if you could do both, then it was definitely hard. It's harder to block people when they have a good power rush and a speed rush.
How many times did you give up a sack when I played? Do you remember?
Oh, man. I know against the Browns that we played against, I forgot. The guy was the first pick in the draft. I can't remember his name, but he gave me some issues. God, I can't – for sure him. I can't remember his name now.
I don't know why it just came to me, but I remember we were playing at Buffalo. And
oh, yeah.
I don't remember what happened, but it was one of those I heard you scream, "Look out."
Yeah. No, man, that game, that still pisses me off to this day. So that guy was a guy that I can't remember his name. He played at Colorado, I remember. But on film, the guy had never, ever done an inside rush. He always rushed outside. And so instead of just trusting my technique, I just said, oh, he's not going to go inside. He's not going to go inside. Sure enough, I remember what down it was, probably a third down. He went inside, sacked it, fumbled. That was the only time in my career I gave up a sack, fumble, touchdown. I was like, damn.
I just remember I could hear you screaming, "Look out!" One of those old lookout blocks.
Look out, throw it.
Who would you say, you play for 3 different franchises, coached by a lot of good people, coaches. Who's the one coach that taught you the most that you use now while you're coaching young men?
Jim McNally, for sure. I mean, there's not even a close second. I mean, I still am in touch with him today. He still gives me tips. I went and met with him, and I think it was January or February this year down in College Station for a coaching clinic. He spent a bunch of time with me. He and I, still talk, and he's given me some great tips. And then I've become friends with Paul Alexander, who is a longtime O-line coach for the Bengals. And he comes down and works with me and my boys and gives us some tips, and there's some different kind of new techniques that guys are doing now that are kind of different than when I played. And so just trying to give my kids as many little tools for their tool bag as they're going to need it going against some of the people they'll be going against in the SEC.
We're speaking with Blake Brockermeyer, my former teammate, former All-American from the University of Texas. You can follow him on Twitter at @BRockermeyerFW. So Blake, after you were done playing, you just kind of took it easy for a while, then you got into coaching. You coached high school ball, and then last couple of years you've been coaching at SMU. How did you like it?
I loved it. That really to me is kind of my calling. I mean, I enjoyed every moment of the last 2+ years that I coached there. I actually coaching, like, I had never played any defense in my life. I'd never learned, I didn't know anything about defense, really. I mean, I knew the basics, but I mean, like, really in detail. So when I was offered the job, it was as a defensive analyst, and I was like, man, like, I don't know if I want to do this. I literally don't know anything about it. But I ended up, it took me a second, but I ended up learning more than I, ever can imagine about how defenses attack offenses and what they look for. And then the D-line coach that I had at SMU, Randall Joyner, he's a young coach that learned under Larry Johnson at Ohio State. I mean, he's like, hey, I've got these we only do 2 pass rush moves. So I'm sitting there going, dude, 2 pass rush moves ain't going to work. And sure enough, we led the country in sacks last year. And it was a really awesome experience. But, with my son at Texas and with my kids going off to Alabama, it just is, I'm not going to miss their careers. I want to watch them play. I want to, I've been to one SEC game in my life when Texas played Ole Miss, a few years ago. And so I want to, go everywhere and see the whole, see everything, and then finish up with Luke's career at Texas. So it just, I didn't really want to do it, but it just, it's one of those things that you have to do. And I just, I would love to keep doing it, but unfortunately, you got to be a dad too. So,
yep. So you're going to go back and coach your 2 twin boys back in high school at All Saints there in Fort Worth. Your oldest son, Jack, went to Rice, just a regular student. Yep. Nothing wrong with that. And as you mentioned, Luke's at Texas playing ball. Now you got your 2 twin boys. This is what I want to hear about. The top center in the country, top left tackle in the country. Talk a little bit about the recruiting process. Are they catching a lot of crap not going to Texas? They got one more year of high school, so they're committed to Alabama, haven't actually signed, but y'all are going to be part of Nick Saban's recruiting class. Just talk a little bit about the whole recruiting process, what that was like.
Well, it was definitely an interesting experience for sure. Having 2 makes it really interesting because, Tommy has kind of always been a bigger, faster, stronger than everybody else. And James is kind of a late bloomer. And so, I mean, James was like 100 and I think his freshman year in high school, and he's like 270 something now. So, I mean, think about that. So, Tommy was probably like, 210 his freshman year. So, I don't know, but so, it's just two completely different kids, play different positions. And so, we really were hoping that they would go to school together somewhere, and they had an opportunity to go to a lot of schools that they were, interested in. Your alma mater wasn't one of them, unfortunately. But so it was a fun experience, and we got to really see a lot of awesome places and meet a lot of great coaches and great people, and just see a lot of different parts of the country pre-COVID, which was really a blessing that we did it the way we did it, because if we hadn't, which a lot of kids unfortunately haven't been able to even visit these schools that are committing to them, but we pretty much saw every school in the country that we wanted to see, and got a pretty good feel. And then they just kind of took it, slow, trying to figure it out. And there's always, Texas on the back burner that they, really, that was really a tough decision for them to choose not to go there. And, but, it's really hard to argue with Coach Saban and Alabama, and just the whole system that they have there is pretty hard to beat. So I can't blame them, but that was their decision to make, and my wife and I just supported them, and so we're excited about their future.
So they narrowed their choices down. Correct me if I'm wrong. It was Alabama, Clemson, LSU, and Auburn.
Clemson was out of it a long time ago. They weren't going to offer my other kid. They'd already had a center committed in their class. And so, with the other choices, so Clemson was out of it pretty early. But we liked Clemson. It's a great environment. It's a unique environment compared to most schools. But so they were out of it. It was really down to basically Texas and Alabama, and LSU and Auburn were kind of the next group. And so, one of my kids liked, those schools but more than the other one did. So they were in it, but they weren't really truly in it. So it was Alabama.
Was it always going to be a package deal with the twin boys?
Well, we were hoping it would be. I mean, they were free to go wherever they wanted to go. I mean, my wife and I were hoping they'd go to the same school, but at a certain point, it was, for Tommy more than anything. If a school didn't offer James, then they weren't even on his radar. So, I mean, we didn't care, but we were hoping, that at least one of them would at least go to Texas if they both didn't go. That way, we could at least go to 2 different places, not 3.
Right. So how are y'all going to determine now? Luke will be a redshirt sophomore,
junior,
junior.
I don't know what he is anymore. So he's because they've given everybody a free year now.
That's true. So I guess my question is, once the twins get in there, who knows if they play as a true freshman? Most kids do these days. How y'all going to determine if you're going to Austin or if you're going to Tuscaloosa?
Well, it'll be Luke's last year at Texas. We know that for sure. It'll be his 4th year. He's going to graduate. And so, that'll be it for him. So, we're going to go to a lot of those games, obviously. And then hopefully we'll go to a lot of the, I don't know how the schedule is going to play out, but I would assume I mean, one of us will be at each game, or if one of the kids or both the kids at Alabama are playing, or who knows, we don't know, but someone will be at both places is probably the best way to describe it.
Last thing for you, Blake, as you're coaching high school ball out there in Texas, have y'all? I know some Texas schools have played out of state. I've seen it on ESPN or what have you. I saw where Dion's team got handled down in Mississippi, and then they won the other day. Have y'all started games yet, or when do y'all start?
You know, we have started doing. We started our 5th week of practices without helmets and without shoulder pads. So we're basically in shorts. It's almost like OTAs without helmets. And so we do that 4 days a week, and those are kind of our workouts for the week. And then, which has been great because, these kids haven't really been around football since the fall of last year. There was no spring anything. So you really got to teach a lot and install, kind of the stuff I teach isn't the typical O-line stuff that most guys teach. So it's very technical. So it's been great. So we've got, unfortunately, another a month until we play our first game, if you can believe that. So October 2nd, our first game. And then I think on Monday we can put on a helmet for the first time. And then on Friday, I think it's our first day in pads. So we're starting to slowly creep up to kind of contact and plan and all that kind of stuff. But, we were supposed to play Westlake Village out in California like 2 weeks ago as our first game. So kind of the new thing. They get these teams from out of state. We did it when Luke's senior year. We went up to Pennsylvania and played a team up there and visited like 8 colleges while we were up there. So it's kind of a good educational trip, but it was fun. But it's just such a unique, weird year. And then high school, there's not really COVID testing. So you just kind of you have to just go off symptoms. So somehow, some way, no one's gotten it on our team yet, which is a miracle. But they do a good job of monitoring it. So hopefully we'll everything will go smooth and we'll get to playing.
Well, we appreciate you taking time to join the program this morning. Good luck to all your boys this year playing football. We'll be following them, and I'll talk to you soon, my man.
Yeah, and good seeing you. Take care.
All right, that's Blake Brockermeyer joining us on the Titan Tomorrow hotline at Center State Bank. We put business first. We're the largest community bank in the state of Florida, and understand that small businesses need a community business partner that they can rely on. Center State has 5 convenient Alachua County locations to serve you better. Center State Bank, member FDIC. You're going to take the first time out of the pro. When we come back, we'll be joined by good old buddy Martin, talking a little Gator football. You're watching and listening to PodUp with Matthews in the Morning from the Crime Prevention Security System Studios. We'll be right back.
Hey Gators, this is Coach Steve Spurrier. PodUp with Matthews in the Morning. We'll be right back after this commercial break.
We want to take this moment to thank all our sponsors who keep the show going and pay the bills. Our gridiron sponsors are Crime Prevention Security Systems, large enough to serve you, small enough to care. Titan MRI, Gainesville's only locally owned and operated MRI facility. Area Rug Masters, your #1 choice in Gainesville for all your area rug cleaning services. Meldon Law, where you matter most. Peachland Dental, Gator Nation's first choice for dentistry in Port Charlotte. Our touchdown sponsors are Campus USA Credit Union, Celebration Point Town Center, The Digital Mortgage Guy, Adams Ribs, Gator Dominoes, Celebrate Primary Care, Center State Bank, GatorBait Media, Davis Gainesville Chevrolet, Miapa Latin Cafe, Gators Dockside, Okido America Martial Arts and After School, Doreen Weeby Realtor, Caldwell Banker MM Parish, Radware, Style Cuts, Wrap Spot, Ironwood Golf Course, TB Financial, Chris Doring Mortgage, Meadowbrook Golf Course, Darshakow Insurance, Pomodoro Cafe, MB Listings, Big Mills Cheesesteaks, Cornerstone Financial Group, McDonald's of Gainesville, My IT Master.
84 Lumber, Tropical Smoothie Cafe, Chick-fil-A on Archer Road,
Aver and Smith, Personal Injury Attorneys.
Orange Theory Fitness,
Great Clips, Dowling Signs, Gainesville Turnover Specialist.
and Gainesville Neon and Signs.
Again, thank you for all the great businesses that support the show. Please remember, if you like what we are doing here, thank our sponsors and support the businesses that support us.
Good morning and welcome back to this Tuesday edition of PodUp with Matthews in the Morning from the Crime Prevention Security Systems Studios, large enough to serve you, small enough to care. Celebration points where the Gators come to celebrate with premium brands like Bass Pro Shop, Tommy Hilfiger, Hotel Indigo, Nike, Medici's, Regal Cinemas, and coming spring of 2021, the HBC's new restaurant, Spurrier's Gridiron Grill, and Visor's Rooftop Bar. We will see you at Celebration Point where the Gators come to celebrate. I want to thank Blake Brockermeyer for joining me. We got a Facebook Live question here brought to you by Meldon Law, where you matter most. It comes from Jeff. He wants to know, has Mr. Brockermeyer ever been to the swamp? He has not. They were hoping to have taken a visit here with their two twin boys, but it never materialized for whatever reason. So maybe he will come to the swamp if Alabama plays here in the next 5 years or so. But let's go back to the Titan Tomorrow hotline. And it is Tuesday, folks. You know what that means. That means good old Buddy Martin from the Buddy Martin Show joins the program. Buddy, how we doing, my man?
Good morning, Shane. Well, it's 1st September. We still got football. How could I be doing any better? It's just a wonderful time to think about football. It's becoming a reality. We're getting a countdown now. We got, 27 or 8 games, whatever it is, before Gators play. We got football this weekend. I didn't watch the Central Arkansas game.
Why did you not watch? I was getting ready to ask you if you hunkered down in Ocala to watch this game, but I forgot. Buddy doesn't watch those type of games.
No, I did watch some of it, actually. The first play was all. What else did I need to see? Although Austin Peay lost the game. No, I was glad to see it. I just had other things pressing. Brendan and I had a few things going on here. So, no, but it was good to know it was there if I wanted to see it. And besides, we had a lot of great golf to watch.
Oh, it was phenomenal, buddy. I know you're probably the only guy that you talk golf with, but the playoffs, the PGA Tour playoffs started 2 weeks ago. The previous week, Dustin Johnson made it look like your old place where you used to cover the Bob Hope Invitational. Which
no, that's not my old place. Don't insult me. The International in Denver, Colorado, my friend, for 17 years. Don't ever call it the Bob Hope. You insulted me. That's like I said, you played for FSU. Come on, man.
Yeah, okay. You made a good point there. So, he shoots 30 under par. It was ridiculous for the playoffs. And then,
it really was.
They go to Olympia Fields, which I played it several times when I was with the Bears. Great golf course.
Yeah.
Obviously, they had this sucker extremely difficult for the tour players, and I loved watching it. And, man, what a finish. Those two putts were outstanding.
Would you believe it if I told you that actually I stepped away and I came back, my wife turned it off, and she's a big golf fan because she could. One of the things they're having now with golf and with all the sports is you got to explain to people what this is and what's next and why it matters. She couldn't get it in her mind what this was. What is this going to do? What's the FedEx? What's Eastlake? And how's that working? And what about it's confusing to a lot of fans, But you're right, boy. I've never in my life seen two putts like that. They were so competitive on top of the other guy. I mean, amazing. And they even enjoyed it. And obviously Rahm pulled off a remarkable shot there to win the thing. But I mean, it was terrific golf and see putts like that. And boy, thank goodness we had this golf during this pandemic.
Oh, man, I think the golf has been outstanding. And they moved to Atlanta and play Eastlake for the Tour Championship. And usually what people, as you mentioned, it is kind of confusing. The playoffs, they cut down on these last 3 weeks. They went from 75, so now there's only 30 players left for the Tour Championship. And that usually ends their season. But it really doesn't during this pandemic because you still got the U.S. Open. We still have the Masters. But it was it'll be something great to watch. So, buddy, we got some little taste of college football. Central Arkansas beating the Governors of Austin Peay. But Thursday night, I know it's still not big boy football according to Buddy Martin, but we got Southern Miss and South Alabama are going to play a couple other games. And then I think Labor Day night, we got BYU playing the Naval Academy. So at least we got some college football this weekend.
Why are you always dissing on me about that? All I want to do is have the best game out there, and I nothing against the young people and the people who are playing this ball. Hey, if I played college ball and I was offered a walk-on, I want you to know, to Troy, certainly I would be thankful for that experience. But no, seriously, glad to have football also. In fact, if anything, I want to see them have more opportunities to be seen, and this was an opportunity to be seen. But boy, Shane, I've got the schedule in front of me, and it's getting real now. And I was talking to Tony Barnhart on our show last night, and just the idea that we're going to get this, we're going to have steak every meal, SEC every weekend, just SEC. How in the world are the fans going to go back to chicken and ham when you got steak? I mean, this is an amazing season to remember, I think. And we were talking last night, but the perfect schedule is +1, SEC plus FSU. End of the story. I don't need anything else.
No, I hear you. I agree with that. I'm excited that we're playing football. That's the biggest thing. Central Arkansas, they play again Thursday night against UAB. They've already done their testing after the game. They have no positive tests. So I think we're going to – I don't want to call it smooth sailing here, buddy.
No.
There's going to be some kids that get sick here and there. But stick with the protocol. I think they're going to be in pretty good shape.
Let's hope so, and that's what we're all hoping. And I don't knock on wood. You know this better than I because you're a son of the team. This has been handled beautifully by Florida. I think Mullen and his staff, medical staff, and has done a fantastic job. And I think we're going to get at least part of the season in. And this is really a challenge for everybody. And things are not going well everywhere. I mean, Baton Rouge, LSU yesterday, not only do they lose one of the greatest players they ever had in the NFL with, what happened in Jacksonville, but they also wind up losing a defensive tackle. And Jamar Chase, maybe as good a receiver as is in the country, suddenly LSU, they got plenty of talent. They took a big hit. And now we can only begin to imagine, Shane, what happens if the COVID comes in and wipes out a whole quarterback room or whatever it might be. And that's the thing it's kind of tough to know exactly what's going to happen, but you're right. It's September 1st. We have football right now. Exciting. And then talking to people now, when you talk to even you're beginning to get Todd Grantham's starting to feel it. He did a presser last night for the media, a Zoom call. And you can see the glint in his eye. It's going to be game day soon and it's on.
Yeah, I want to hear your thoughts. You got to see the presser. I did not yesterday. I was pretty busy. I think these coaches and these players, buddy, I've been saying it. And I think Florida's done a tremendous job because I think everyone on the team, regardless if you are the starter at a position, you're a walk-on, if you got to know your role of the team and you have to buy in. And that's what Coach Mullen has been preaching because they know, and here's the other thing, buddy. There's policy now at the university, whether you're a student athlete, if you're caught with X amount of people around you in a group or whatever, they can expel you from the university and suspend you from athletic activity. So I just think that the university has done a great job with these athletes, and the athletes have done a tremendous job buying into what the coaches and the doctors and people are telling them. And there hasn't been any selfishness. And I think when kids get this virus, it's because they're being selfish. They're kind of going outside their quote bubble. And it's tempting for these, 18 to 22-year-old kids. But we're going to see. I think Florida's done a great job so far. Hopefully they'll continue doing it. But and the reason I was saying all that, because we're going to play football. And I think these kids are ready to play football. It's been a long, long off season of uncertainty, not in their routines. We're still 25 days away until we kick it off. Still a long ways away. These guys are ready to play. But what did Todd have to say in his presser?
Well, there's a lot going on right there, and I wanted to say that I just want to say that you look at LSU, what's going on there. You look at Florida, and you think, well, is that just luck, fortune? Is that good management? Is that whatever? It's all the above. So you don't want to get too cocky if you have a healthy team because it can change. But I think one of the things that Mullen's done a really good job on is I think he has put the responsibility, and your son's one of them, of taking care of yourself, your classwork, your academics. Matter of fact, we asked last night, Todd Grantham, speaking of which, a lot of questions about Brenton Cox. We all want to see number one in the uniform because we keep hearing things and wonder if he could be as good as he seems. Their linebackers are starting to take shape now, and certainly Brenton Cox is a force to attack, which is what Todd Grantham loves to do. And we don't know Brenton Cox. We only know about what we've seen film on. But he apparently has emerged because you don't get number one jersey just because you're a good guy. However, having said that, we asked that question last night of Todd Grantham. How could he get number one jersey? He hadn't taken a snap. He said there are other things in a program you can do that impress us. Social being one of them, which is what you talked about. Taking responsibility for who you're hanging out with. Classroom. He's excelling in the classroom. He's a 3-point-something student, and he's apparently really putting a lot of effort into class. He's being accountable to his teammates. His athletics endeavors have been superb. Yes, he does have a little ways to go. He has some fundamental things to learn about the game. But as Todd said, we're teaching him those. Let's not make him a star before we see him. Let's wait a couple of games. So he didn't want to blow him up too much, but that this guy is going to be a player. Matter of fact, as he was going over all his players in his secondary and even his young linemen, it all sounded good. Now, look, I don't know how good it looks on the field. There are those who went to the scrimmage, spies of mine, who said that, they weren't overly impressed with certain things. They didn't think a lot about the defensive linemen. But we're hearing reports from the coaches. They're very optimistic about it. They got players, Shane. If they stay healthy, anything's possible. And then what he said, and I'll tell you about this in a minute, I love the fact that Todd Grantham likes to attack. And I talked to him about that last night and about his decisions, how he makes them, his instincts. And it's going to be a fun year again because I love his philosophy. The defense's job is to make the other quarterback be miserable.
Yeah, it's interesting you brought that up. He is a very aggressive style defensive coordinator. Some fans love it, and most fans love it when it works, right, buddy?
Yes,
but when you're aggressive like he is, you're going to give up big plays. That's just part of the game. But you roll the dice, and I like that style of play. There's some, and this is not a shot at Tony Dungy at all. He's one of the great coaches. But, when Tampa played, they played the old base.
Tampa 2.
Tampa 2, zone coverage, keep everything in front of you, make the defense drive the length of the field.
I hated that, by the way. I hated it.
The averages are against you that you can drive the length of the field. A mistake will happen. But Grantham loves to be aggressive. I think it all comes down to, the only way you can really be aggressive, in my opinion, if you trust your guys in the back end, in the secondary. Yeah. And I think he does with this crew. I did read a quote where he thinks Marco Wilson is the most versatile player he's ever coached. He's coached in a long time. I agree with that. I think Marco's a tremendous player. We were a better defense when we moved him into the slot last year to cover the nickel. That may not be the best position for him, but it was the best thing for the team to have success. Yeah. So I agree. I like how aggressive Grantham is. But again, people got to understand when you're aggressive, you're going to give up plays.
Get burned.
It's just like, the old ball coach, the head ball coach, when he called plays, he was very aggressive. He took shots. It's kind of how Grantham takes shots defensively. Frank here on the Meldon Law Facebook Live comment says, safety blitz at Starville to end the game was one of the most notable calls. Do you agree, Shane? Yeah, I mean, now we did leave somebody uncovered on that blitz, but thank goodness Fitzgerald didn't see him. But yeah, it worked, so it was a good blitz. If they max protect or the quarterback hits his hot route, who knows? But yes, I agree. Got a question, another comment here on Meldon Law on Facebook Live, brought to you by Meldon Law, where you matter most. Jeff says, buddy, winning the SEC championship this year is going to be an historic accomplishment. You agree with that?
I do agree with that.
I do. And here's the other thing. People talk about whoever wins the national title or SEC title is going to be an asterisk beside it.
No.
I totally disagree with that. It should be multiple exclamation points.
Exactly.
This is living hell what these kids and coaches are having to go through.
Absolutely. This will be one for the ages, I think, if you want it this year. Now, of course, there's that team in Tuscaloosa. By the way, we'll talk about that for a minute. And what Nick Saban did yesterday with his team, I thought that was a powerful statement. But first of all, did you just call him the old ball coach?
Well, it's the head ball coach.
No, you said old ball coach. I got it right here. You're going to be in such trouble now. And I got in trouble for this, and now you're going to get in trouble for saying old ball coach.
Well, I didn't say OLD. It was OLE.
It don't matter. It don't matter.
Old Buddy Martin.
Don't matter. He'll remind you he hasn't used that since 2003. And so you're going to you have to answer for that one. Just so you know, I'm telling you.
I know.
Hey, look, I agree. This is going to be an epic season. This is what everything I ever dreamed of. You know my dream season and what I've always thought they should do. I don't know about the super season, although now they're starting to say that's a possibility. The one I want to see. Nothing against the small schools. I want them to flourish, have their own program, have their own championship. And if you want to put them in the playoffs or winner, that's fine. Go do that. I don't want to do anything to hurt the small schools. But college football, this level, is just so dynamic. It's everything the NFL can't be. And the only thing missing is the schedule, the players, what you get. I don't want to see South Alabama. I'm sorry. If I want to see that, I'll put it over on one of those other channels. I want to see big boy football. I want to see super conference football. There was even a discussion about that this week. Somebody was talking and writing about it. Will there be this super conference? And it's eventually evolving into something different. I think it will have a profound impact on the game. And we'll see. But back to Brenton Cox just for a minute. This would be could be, we'll see, the pickup of Dan Mullen's career in terms of he got some awful good players to grad transfer. But to get a guy who can play that many years for you, to be a spearhead for that, no bad term, by the way, to be a main cog in a defense that has potential to be right up there. And again, I love Todd Grantham's style. I think Brenton Cox is going to be exciting to watch along with others. He's right. You can't put him up there and elevate him up to star status till he does something. We'll see. I got a gut feeling he's going to be something really, really special. I look forward to seeing him play. And I look forward to seeing the SEC football we're about to play. And we hadn't even talked about Kyle Trask today.
Well, Kyle, I think he's got a chance to have a great year. I think, people are worried about, and I've told you, buddy, I'm not worried about what receivers are out there. I know the young receivers that they have are extremely talented. I know this coaching staff likes them. So whether Tony's injured or Grimes is injured or they're sitting out, whatever it is, I really think these young guys, Florida's going to have receivers.
And to your credit, Shane, you said that from day one. When I said, oh, my gosh, look, there's three guys sitting, three receivers sitting out, what's going to happen? Tony, they're jacking around. You're saying Spurrier would never put up with that. First day of practice and so on and so forth. And you were saying they got other talent out there. And those guys have got to show us something. I mean, Kadarius Toney has not shown us a complete season just yet.
He hasn't shown us very much other than a couple of long.
You're right. You told me that.
Backwards a lot, too.
Yeah, you told me that.
So my point is just – and I go back to the Spurrier era, even in Urban's era, guys are on that roster that haven't been given their opportunity that they will excel when they given that opportunity. It's just they just haven't gotten their time yet. And so just because people haven't seen or heard of these other young guys, they're going to have a bright future, in my opinion. Refresh your vehicle and your brand with a vehicle wrap from Rat Spot. September is your lucky month at Rat Spot. Mention promo code Shane and receive 13% off your vehicle wrap. So, buddy, I think you had mentioned to me earlier Vegas odds or something like that.
Yeah, it's time to start looking at those things.
Or to win the SEC?
SEC.
Obviously, Alabama's got to be favored.
Yeah, they're even money, obviously. And we didn't talk about it yet, but can I just put a word in there about Saban yesterday?
Yeah,
I found it amazing. He did this March, okay? Okay, well, Mullen did it too. He didn't get any special credit. He's Nick Saban. He's 68 years old. He's out there in the heat walking with his players. I know it's his responsibility. He wants to show he's committed and tough. What he wanted to show was he supports his players. I couldn't believe some of the comments on Paul Feinbaum's show later about how this might have ruined Nick Saban's career. Are you kidding me? You tell me as a former player, how would you like to look up and see your head coach leading the march on something you felt very strong?
What were the negative remarks?
Oh, that he's ruining Nick Saban's career for supporting Black Lives Matter.
Well, did those people not realize that 90% of his team is probably black?
Obviously, they don't get it.
Yeah.
I'm thinking, what is this guy smoking? This is the kind of I don't want to get into politics because you can take whatever position you want to. That's fine. But to me, that's leadership. And Saban knew. Don't you think Saban knew what he was doing? Exactly. So he's going to support his players, and you're big on supporting players. And I think he showed it. Now, Alabama, I think, is poised and strong. And I don't know what's going to happen, but Jones looks like to me he's going to be a star. The Georgia Bulldogs are second. They're 11-4. I don't know why that odds. This is from Superbook Sports, by the way. Odds 11-4. Florida 6-1. I might get some of that. By the way, I cashed a ticket last year. That's the first time I've ever bet on college football legally at Vegas last year, and I put $100 on Florida to beat the number at 8.5. And I lost the ticket, but I found it and I mailed it in to people out in Vegas. They said they paid me. So just on the record, I'm 1 for 1, Shane. Okay, I'm 1 for 1 on that. Texas A&M is 16-1, Auburn 20-1, LSU 20-1. I think LSU just dropped a little bit after the bad news they got yesterday. They lose the guy Jamar Chase. If you look at some of the plays last year he made, remarkable. So. Yeah, Tennessee is 60-1. You want some Tennessee 60-1?
No,
Kentucky, Ole Miss, USC 100, Mississippi State, Missouri 200-1, Arkansas 1,000-1, and Vanderbilt 2,000-1.
Wow. All right. Well, buddy, who's on the show tonight?
Well, it's going to be you, among other things. We're gonna talk about obviously some more football tonight. We always like to have David Moulton on. And we always have a surprise guest or two as well. So it's going to be fun. We had a great guest list lined up. By the way, your guest list has been very, very impressive. You've got some really good guests.
And we like having you on as well. Well, Buddy, we'll see you tonight. You can check him out on Twitter at Buddy Show and check him out on Facebook Live tonight at 9 o'clock for the Buddy Martin Show.
Yeah, I just want to make one quick comment, and that is I have a bite tonight from Urban Meyer on what kind of coach Dan Mullen is. And the word he uses is smart, really smart, and also tough. We'll talk about that tonight with you on Buddy Martin's show.
All right, buddy. Take care, my man.
Thank you, Shane.
That's Buddy Martin. Join us on the Titan Tomorrow Hotline. This Day in Sports is brought to you by GTS, Gainesville's premier maintenance company. Whether you need carpet cleaning or expert painting, fences mended, or any handyman services, call GTS at 352-363-6622. This Day in Sports, here we go. I like this one. 1984, Willie Totten from Mississippi Valley State passes for a Division I AA record 536 yards and 9 touchdowns in an 86-0 win versus Kentucky State. He threw those balls to a guy named Jerry Rice, who had 17 catches for 294 yards and 5 touchdowns, breaks his own Division I AA record for total yardage and pass receptions. So that's Willie Satellite Totten to Jerry World Rice for Mississippi Valley State. And I got to watch those jokers play when I was a youngster back in the day, back in Mississippi. So that is your play of the day, brought to you by our good friends at GTS, Gainesville's premier maintenance company. Don't forget, make sure you tune in tomorrow. Tell all your friends to follow us and like us on Facebook. Check us out on YouTube, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and Google Podcasts. Got a good show lined up for you tomorrow. We'll have JC back for a short segment. We're going to have former Gator Ty Johnson, who also played for the Chicago Bears and the St. Louis Rams, joining the program. Today's show's a wrap, brought to you by Wrap Spot. Be safe out there, folks. We'll see you tomorrow. Take care. All right, brother.